With the grassroots movement against what's called corporate greed growing stronger and stronger by the day, a new study is revealing some disturbing findings about big corporations, which could further fuel all this momentum. Let's bring in our own Mary Snow in New York with a closer look at just how much, if anything, some of these huge companies are actually paying in federal taxes. Mary?
And, Wolf, this is a hard one to believe, but zero is how much many of America's biggest companies are paying in income taxes. That's according to a new study which looked at tax bills for 280 major companies over the last 3 years, and that zero tax rate is all perfectly legal. As protesters rally against big corporations and big profits, there is talk of corporate tax reform. Authors of a new study on company tax bills are hoping the results may inspire action. Citizens for Tax Justice, along with the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, two left-leaning groups, found that 30 major corporations paid zero income taxes over the last 3 years. How is that possible? Robert McIntyre is the lead author of the study.
It didn't happen by magic. The corporations are good at lobbying, and the Congress is good at rolling over for them. And over the years, the last 25 or so years, loopholes have crept back into the tax code, and companies have found ways to shift their profits offshore and invest in tax shelters that cut their taxes.
The corporate tax rate is 35%. This study found that on average, of the 280 companies studied, they paid about half that rate. The report also finds that some companies had so many tax breaks, their tax burden went negative, meaning they got money back. General Electric is near the top of the list. The report finds it paid zero income tax for the last 3 years, while their U.S. profits in that time amounted to $10 billion. GE challenged the report, telling CNN the report is inaccurate and distorted. GE paid billions of dollars in taxes in the United States over the last decade, and we expect our overall tax rate will be approximately 30% in 2011. GE, which is a multinational company, favors tax reform, it says, to close all loopholes and to lower the court is hoping for major reform like the kind he advocated for in the 1980s, when then President Reagan rid the tax code of special breaks.
If you don't keep cleaning things up, the lawyers and accountants will beat you. And we haven't had a cleanup in 25 years, and we desperately need one.
Tax law professor Daniel Shaviro isn't holding his breath, noting changes in politics since the 1980s.
And they're not compromising. So we kind of have a different political environment today, and that makes tax reform, along with a lot of other things, harder to do.
And underscoring, Wolf, how uneven tax payments are, this report finds about a quarter of the companies surveyed paid a tax rate of more than 30%, and the tax rate is 35%. But roughly the same amount of companies paid less than 10%.
But the notion that GE didn't pay any corporate federal income tax for the past 3 years, even though maybe over the past 10 years they did pay a lot, but over the past 3 years, was that confirmed that they paid zero in federal income tax despite all these domestic profits over the past 3 years?
That's what this report is saying, is that GE is on that list, among many other companies, of paying zero federal income tax, as you said, even though that it had about $10 billion in U.S. profits over that same 3-year period.
All right, this is going to generate a lot of commotion out there, I'm sure. Thank you very much, Mary, for that.